started as SDRs and now have the privilege of working in customer success. So let's meet them. Salam.
Hi everyone, my name is Salam. I was born and raised in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. I was born and raised there, and in my eyes I was raised by the most hardworking, strong, loving father. I was raised with my 4 sisters. He was a single parent. When I was 16, I came to the US, and honestly I would say the person I am today is because of him. He taught me hard work, and I saw him work 13 hours a day just to be able to support for his 4 girls. And yeah, at the age of 16 I came here. I attended college at UNLV. I studied health policy, and I started working as a medical rep at a healthcare company. And here I am with a medical degree working as a medical rep, and I said, oh, there has to be more to my career than this. And I felt stagnant, I felt stuck. And that's when my mentor reached out and introduced me to SV Academy, and I did the program. I started working at Intercom as a sales development, and then eventually got promoted to an account manager, and I work at Intercom as an account manager now.
Thank you, Andrew.
Hi everyone. My name is Andrew Linus. I was born into a rather blue-collar, single-parent home in rural Colorado. And at the time, one of the trends that was happening in this town was that people would start their families very young. My mom had me when she was just 3 days away from graduating high school. So as you can imagine, starting a family at that age has a lot of challenges, particularly financial. So throughout my childhood, even up until we moved to California for access and also just in terms of building out a future for me, a lot of things that I knew as a kid were limited. My family is relatively multiracial, and that was very different from most of the families in this small rural town in Colorado. So the lens that I operated under as a kid was always of difference. Why am I different? Why does that matter? And it wasn't until I got to California, my mom moved there because she knew that it would be a little bit better for my sister and I. And even at that time, as many of you know, California is very expensive. And so throughout high school, I actually ended up getting 2 jobs to help support my mom, but also to pay for all the college apps that I wanted to do. I was the first person in my family to apply to college, and thankfully I ended up getting into Williams College and graduated about 2 years ago. So that was a really big achievement for me. But I think the moral of the story here is access is so important. And as someone that has come from an area where I never thought I would get that access, SVA was instrumental in the beginning. And now being in this space with all of you thought leaders in customer success, it's so exciting. So I know it's just the first part of the step, but access has been so important.
Hey everybody, my name is Sasha. I am originally from the Bronx, New York, and I currently live in Atlanta. My experience has been quite challenging. I worked for state government for about 7 years. I'm married and we have 2 children. And after working in state government, got kind of bored, didn't want to continue doing the same thing, but I didn't quite know what I wanted to do next. So I thought it would be smart to go back to school. And I went back, I got my MBA. But 6 months before school ended, my husband lost his job, and we ended up homeless, which was extremely tough. But I couldn't give up. I had to keep pushing. I had to be an example for my kids, right? So when I got the letter after graduation, just kind of offering me this opportunity with SV Academy, I said, heck yeah, I'm gonna take it, because this may be a great opportunity for me to kind of make a great change for my family. And truly it was. I completed the program at SV Academy, and landed a great job with a company in Atlanta called DocuTap. Started out as a BDR. 11 months after working there, I got promoted to be a CSM, and here I am today. Thankfully, so much, I attribute so much of this to SV Academy, and I'm really excited to be here in front of you all today.
Hey, how's everybody doing? My name is Baba, really simple, B-A-B-A. So, yeah. I'm originally from Nigeria, and As a young kid, felt like I was cursed. I was born in Japan, then moved to Nigeria, then moved to Belgium, and then finally came here to the US. So it was tough as a kid, just a repeating cycle of getting used to the culture, getting friends, getting popular, all the cool stuff as a kid, and then all going away because I had to move to a different continent or a different place. So I felt like I was cursed, and it was tough as a kid. To make matters worse, when we moved to US, my dad had to work in Nigeria. So my parents were together, but not together at the same time. My mom took that sacrifice of leaving her husband and coming with me and my brother to come to the US for a better life, better education, and better life. And as I said, that made matters worse. I was a wreck. I was terrible. Through my years in the US, I did my graduate school and I found SB Academy, luckily. And I could say SB Academy saved my life. It gave me purpose. It made me motivated, extra motivated. And yeah, I'm happy. And I now work for Insipage first as a BDR, and then after 4 months getting promoted and working as a CSM in the industry. It's been awesome. It's been great. Everything I do is for my parents, especially my mom. So I'm extra motivated in that sense, and SBA helped me hone my skills and made me to the man I am today. So that's a little story about me.
All right, so let's get this conversation started with your favorite thing about your current role in customer success.
So, they call me Sasha Sunshine because I just love everybody. And one of the greatest things about being a customer success manager is that I can now have a longer relationship with the customer, and I get an opportunity to kind of sprinkle a little bit of sunshine into every interaction. So that's why I love it.
Awesome.
Yeah, I can second what Sasha said. I don't have any sprinkle when it does be sunshine. But yeah, like Sasha said, I love building a relationship with customers. And also more importantly, I love helping them seek the success they seek. Their goals, working with them to make sure that they enjoy the platform and they enjoy the features, or just enjoy, working with us. That's very important. It's very, gratifying for me as well. Knowing that I make a change in someone's life or the company. So that's very, very important to me, and that's why I love being a CSM.
Yeah, I think for me it's coming full circle. I felt like most of my childhood was so focused on me relying on help from other people. And if I look at the most pivotal points in my life, it was the times when those people that were really important to me took the time to listen. And when I think about customer success, it's so much about listening. And I think being in a position now where I get to be the person to listen and I get to help, it's super empowering to me because it's a complete shift of the tables.
I think what people don't realize about customer success role is it's still a sales role. You still have to maintain the accounts that you have and expand them. So I work with a lot of startup companies, and I make sure that they grow with my product. I make sure they're successful using my product, and that's how I measure my success, is the fact that they're growing and I'm retaining them, and it's fun. I get paid doing it, so yeah, that's my favorite.
Okay, so all four of you, much like I'm sure many people in the audience today, come from different twists and turns in your careers, non-traditional paths into the tech industry. How have you been able to use that unconventional background of yours as an asset in your role?
Here we go. For me, just using my background, as I said in my brief story and introduction of myself, of having to live in different places in such a short period of time, it gave me the ability to adapt in any situation, which is very important in life and is very key in not only your work or anything, but just in life in general, being able to adapt to any situation. So that's what I take from it. As I said, when I was young, I felt like it was a curse. But now that I'm a big boy now, I understand that it gave me the ability to adapt either in the workforce or as a CSM, adapting to different customers, adapting to different use cases. things of that nature. That's what made me the ability to adapt and do well in my job and be able to see the success that I have right now. So I'd probably say my ability to adapt.
I like that, Baba, because I've learned to adapt as well. I can definitely say that's something that I bring, just based on my experience. You know, being homeless is really tough. So I had to learn to be mindful, because I've been in situations and you know the person that I interacted wasn't necessarily mindful of how they were interacting with me. So my experience has taught me in every single interaction, number one, bring some positive energy, but number two, be mindful, because you never know what anyone is going through. So rather than getting offended if no one wants to, buy a product, I can say, you know what, I'll be patient and I'll try them later and we'll talk about it later. But I'm going to be mindful because I really don't know what they might be experiencing at the moment.
I think growing up with 7 siblings, we were 8 together. I was kind of forced to be extrovert and try to relate with everybody. So honestly, for me, customer success is relationship manager. You have to know how to build a relationship with your customers. So my background of growing up with a lot of people in the room, I was able to learn how to build a relationship in my role. And working in the healthcare field, you have to learn how to put yourself in people's shoes. You see people at their lowest point in life. So I can say like today, being able to empathize with people, with my customers, and being able to build a relationship has helped me be successful so far.
Yeah, I think for me it's been about vulnerability. And I'm sure some people can relate in this room, but those times when you're in a space and you just feel like your existence is a disturbance or it creates some kind of tension. And it's not because of necessarily anything that you've already done, but just being there. And so even now, as I talk about how access has been so important to me and getting into tech, there are moments still at the company now that I work at where it's scary. And so one of the things that I've really learned to do is be more vulnerable in those moments and take up space, because you're not always given that opportunity, and it's something that we need to do a little bit more of. And for the people that don't realize how much space they take up, just stepping back, because I'm also guilty of that too. So I think just vulnerability has helped enormously.
And that's a great connection with the next piece that I wanted to explore with you. We know that from the responses you all just shared, that you've been able to bring such incredible strengths and insights into your role. We also know that there are challenges in that experience and in those kinds of situations. Are any of you comfortable sharing a challenge around bias? A situation where you have felt that there was a bias? And how did you overcome that situation?
I can say that at my company, I haven't explicitly felt bias, but I've definitely been in a challenging situation, and I'll let you know. I was aligned with an AE for about 9 months. We worked together. I brought great leads and deals to the table. We had an amazing relationship. One time, we had a misunderstanding, and I didn't even know that we had a misunderstanding until I got a call from my manager and heard that my AE had reported something to the VP of sales, and then it got to my manager, and then it got back to me. And the way that I handled that situation, rather than allowing or kind of harboring ill feelings or anything like that, I went directly to my AE and I said, hey, we've got a good relationship here. If there's any issue that we have, you are totally well within your rights to go to whomever you'd like to speak to about it. But I just thought that we were on a better, I thought we were on the same page, and that you could have really spoken to me. And his expression was like, he didn't expect me to kind of talk to him, but I said, you know, we gotta work here. We're all part of the same team, and there should never be any ill feelings, because we gotta move forward in this together. It turned out that that was the best thing that I could have done, and we are still really good friends today. So that was how I handled it.
Any other experiences of bias or challenges that may come out of the fact that on your team you might be part of a minority, or you might be part of a voice that's underrepresented?
Yeah, I think Sasha brought up a good point in that even in a city like San Francisco, bias here is so nuanced. I can also say I haven't really experienced it explicitly, but there are little moments. I mean, that's why microaggressions exist and things like that. And I think just in my interactions with my team, for example, some people in the past have said about like different events in the city that they'd like to attend, and people have either laughed at it or sort of like ridiculed it. And it's little stuff like that that's not necessarily, I don't think anybody means harm, but it's still harmful. And because it's so nuanced, it's something that we really have to pay attention to and really, really try and make sure that we understand what's going on and how the things that we do interact and affect other people's ability to work and feel successful.
Yeah, my cohorts have said amazing stuff, and definitely agree with you guys and second that as well. From my experience, so far I've been lucky to not have and feel any bias, explicit bias as of right now. Hopefully that stays where it is. But I've had experience, being the only African American in the department. Going to a meeting and you're the only minority in that meeting, for example. And when I first started working there or started working in that type of environment, I felt like, what's wrong? Why am I the only one? But as I said, I've grown up and I've worked there a little bit, and I've kind of been experienced and seasoned now, and I try to flip everything I can from a negative or something that could be bad into a positive. So now I'm thinking, why am I here? But maybe because I'm doing something right. There's no many African Americans in the meeting, or maybe in this meeting, but why am I here? I must be doing something right. So keep on doing that, and also changing it from within. So we want more Babas now, we want Babas that live from different part of the country, different continents. We want them working with Instapay. We want them working here, changing it from within. So it starts with me. I'm taking that as a challenge for me to do well in the company, to do well in this environment, to do well in this industry. So there'll be more Babas, so there'll be more Sasha, so there'll be more Andrews and Selems and stuff like that. So that's where my mindset is from. So.
I would honestly echo what you all amazing people said. I haven't explicitly felt biased in my company, but I'm not gonna lie, walking to a meeting and realizing we're the only African American person in the room. I even asked them, I'm like, do people not know my company? Do people not apply? Like, why am I the only African American here? And yeah, I honestly bring my whole self to work. I celebrate the fact that I'm different, and honestly, like what you mentioned, diversity is so important. We have to make sure that everybody brings different perspective to the table. And yeah, that's how I overcome it. Is I speak different language, and my customers appreciate that, and making sure that you bring, you celebrate yourself for who you are, and that the fact that you're different. And yeah, now there are more people that look like me, so I'm thankful for that.
Okay, so as we are close to wrapping up, we can do this last question, and we'll have to be a bit quick. So what are your companies, the teams that you're part of right now, what are they doing to create space for more diverse voices?
Yeah, so at Versado, I didn't mention that before, but I work at Versado. This whole topic came to a fever pitch about the end of last year. Up until that point, we didn't really have any affinity groups in the company. We're not super small, we're around 275 people, so we're not super startup-y, but we're also not fully late stage either. And we just hired a new chief people officer, and I was talking to her in New York a couple weeks ago about just like the lack of programs related to D&I at our company. And she made a really good point to me, and I think this is something that I want to share with you guys to think about is a company, leaders in a company, they can create as much programming as is imaginable. You can throw as much money as you want into diversity and inclusion, but if the people don't care about it, it's not going to go anywhere. So this is something that you really have to own yourself and make a priority, because the same conversations that we have about diversity and inclusion on this side of the table, our customers do too, and the same types of biases that we deal with, they deal with. So the more that we can build out people to understand those nuances, helps on both sides of the table. So I think that was something that I learned from that conversation with her that really stuck out.
Yeah, I can't agree with Andrew more. It has to be from within. You have to care. Like Dan said in his awesome speech, it has to be philosophy. You know, it has to be something that you care about in order to make that change. You can't just do it for an image. You just can't say, oh, let's do this so it makes us look good. It has to be from within. And InstaPay so far, from when I've started, we've had more African Americans, we've had more diverse people from different parts of the world working. I like to think it's because of me, but I'm not sure. But we've made that change. We've had different people from different parts of the world, so that's been amazing as well. But yeah, just to summarize what Andrew said, it has to be from within. You have to care and want to make that change.
I can definitely say that DocuTap has done an amazing job of ensuring that, you know, we do feel included. Like, I go to work, I wear an afro, I rock big earrings that say Black Girl Magic. And it's like, yeah, let's go. You know, everybody's really, really excited about celebrating everybody's differences, and it makes a world of difference.
All right, well, I think that's a great last note for this conversation. Let's give these four a round of applause. So now that you've heard our stories, and these are just some of them, our call to action is for you to return to your teams, return to your companies, build on the awesome work that you're already doing, look at things with a discerning eye, and ask questions around how diverse voices are present when decisions are being made. It will be a long journey, I think, that it'll take step by step for all of us, as the fellows mentioned. It starts from within all of us. Our final note here is that diversity and inclusion is something for all of us. We all have diverse identities within each of us. We all have many sides. We all have many interests and roles that we play in our lives. We don't want to be boxed. We don't want to be set into categories. None of us do. And so diversity and inclusion initiatives are for all of us so that we can bring our whole selves to work. And I think we all want that for our careers and the future of the industry. So again, a big thank you to Gainsight Pulse Academy Live's team. You are awesome. Gainsight's work is so aligned with ours, and we are so honored to be partnering. And to all of you, thank you for hearing our stories and for doing the work that you're doing. We're going to be in the Success Hub for the rest of the week. Come and talk with us. We want to share learnings and insights. Let's keep this conversation going. Thank you.